Hey, 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 what's going on, fat boy?
Oh, just living the dream.
Oh, I don't know. Most of my dreams are nightmares these days, so.
Yeah, I know. I did just wake up from a nap.
Oh, I'll
Yeah.
that sounds like show prep these days.
Well, I got a little issue here. Little
Uh,
issue that happened.
with with
So,
with with who?
well, I was in Pittsburgh all week. I was
Uh,
at my corporate event meetings, and
the petri
it
dish,
looks like
the
that I
Pittsburgh,
was
the
right.
Pittsburgh petri dish.
Yeah. So it looks like I was near someone who had tested positive for COVID.
Well, of course,
So
because
now I have
everyone had
to.
to get a picture with you that week.
Right. Here's the funny part.
Yeah.
This is what I don't understand. So the person who I am in close contact with, there's a few other of us too, they tested positive but aren't sick. So my question to them is what made you get tested? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I just came home and took a home test. I'm like, but you're not sick? They're like, no. I'm like, that's fishy to me. And they're like, why? I'm like, you didn't feel sick but took a test, you're positive, and now you have to stay home from work for 5 days
Brilliant.
after being away for 5 days. I was like,
Brilliant.
right, like, what, and get paid for it? Like, that's
Brilliant.
fishy.
Well, hold on. I'll pump the brakes there for a second. My roommate does that all the time. When he goes on a trip,
Was he?
when he comes
Yeah.
back from a trip, up from a flight or whatever, he always takes a home test. And it's not because he feels sick or he feels fine. It's it's because like every week he goes down to Miami and spends like a night at his mom's place, and his grandmother lives there too. So he doesn't feel the need to, even if he feels fine, if he has COVID, to give it to like his 90-year-old grandma. So
I
he
mean,
tests
only the
himself.
strong survive.
He tests himself whether he's sick or not when he goes out of town and
Well,
is on planes, trains, and automobiles with other
I get it.
people. To
I get
you
it.
know what I mean. So
I understand, but listen.
I know
My thing is
you want to
this.
slap on the tinfoil hat and call it a
No,
conspiracy, but
no.
you're a
I
little.
think this person at work, now I understand Huss's situation. I believe the person at work it, I truly believe there is no positive test. I believe that they were away for 5 days. They wanted another 5 days off. So because they were away from their family, their kids, their significant other, they wanted another 5 days to be able to spend at home because I know for a fact that their family, the husband works from home. So, look, it's a work because I'm like, why would you? I don't understand why you would get tested if you weren't sick and there's no symptoms if you're not like it's fishy to me.
Well,
It's fishy.
because I listen, not everyone is as thoughtless as you. Just because you don't get symptoms doesn't mean you don't have it and you don't want to spread it to others. You, on the other hand, don't care. You're like, I feel fine. Even if I have it, I don't give a shit. I'll just give it to other people. Like Johnny fucking
Well,
Appleseed. You might
here's the other
listen.
thing though.
So, come on.
Listen, oh, I'm going to add on to this conspiracy.
All right,
This
go ahead.
said person
But I'm gonna shoot
has been
holes through them as you bring them. I mean, it's
no,
just
no, 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 no.
yeah, yeah,
This
yeah.
said person has been out of work, had had surgery, and then after surgery went right to another surgery, back to back surgeries. Their first day back was the first day of the conference in 3 months. They
Hmm.
were out for 90 days. Their first day back was the conference. Now, boom, right back to another 5 days
Right. What's another
to
five
work.
days after 95 days? Might as
To
well
work,
make it an even 100, right?
I truly believe they worked the system. This was brilliant. But in them working the system, I have to stay home for 5 days now. But the problem with
So
that
you're
is this.
benefiting, right?
No, I got work to do.
Oh my
And to,
god.
so,
So do it
so
at
at
home.
first, hold on. I said to myself, no big deal. I work from home this week. I do my stuff.
We'll
Easy
get to do.
peasy, right?
I'm happy because we'll get to do the podcast earlier. I'm
Well,
ecstatic.
right. Easy peasy. We can do it. Boom. Nice.
All right, that's a
But,
promise. That's a
but
promise right there. Okay, go
my
ahead.
boss gives me, he says, being that you're home for the next 5 days, I'm giving you a project. And I'm like, whoa. I got my own work to do. He's like, yeah, but I'm going to give you a project instead. So I don't even get to do my own work. I do a project for him, which requires me watching video of stuff over and over again and like noting things. Like I feel like I'm being punished for somebody else testing for the COVID.
It might be, maybe he just feels like after that conference you need to be humbled a little bit.
That could be it.
This kid's riding too high. The upper management is talking about making him the mascot. All yada yada. This kid needs to taste some sand. This kid needs to taste some sand right now.
Well, here's the other thing. So, whatever. I got to stay home now. My question is there was 10 people on this list. So if you're vaccinated or if you're unvaccinated, like what was the time difference? Because I was just curious. So if you're vaccinated, they only count you vaccinated if you're boosted. Well, 3 or 4 people on that list, or 4 or 5, aren't boosted. So they have to do the same thing I do because they're considered not vaccinated, which I think is absurd.
Well, the vaccine only lasts, apparently is only effective for so long, I guess.
So those people, they have to do what I do. So
Right.
they got the shot and they're like, wait a second, I got the shots. And they're like, well, and I'm like, well, looks like we're in the same boat here.
Why is anyone complaining about not having to go right back to work after?
Because we got stuff to do. And now we're all on this project.
Yeah.
So the second set of people, though, who are boosted, they have to quarantine for 3 days and then they can come back to work. I feel like
3 and 5 is really, it's, well, hold on. I know why. Because 3 days means you're still back that week. 5 technically is 7.
Right, because of the weekend.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know.
They just say 5. They just say 5 days because whatever. But it's technically double. It's more than double.
But who sat there and came up with this 3 and 5? Like, I'm confused as to like this. People
that make a lot more money than you, my friend.
But here's the thing: if I have to have a test to come back after 5 days. So after 5 days, I take a home test. I can come back if it's negative.
Yeah, on the 4th day, you should go lick some public toilets and then take the test.
Well, the vaccinated
try and stay out a little longer.
The fully vaccinated person, after 3 days, doesn't have to take a test. They can just come back. Well, so here's my thing. There's no thing. No, you get a shot, a vaccine. It's to protect you, right?
No, absolutely not.
Well, yes, it is. It's to protect you from dying. That's what they said.
Oh yeah,
right?
No, you're right. You're right. Yeah, I'm all Fauci
here's
over
the other
here.
Thing.
I'm sorry.
Here's the other thing. So the person who's vaccinated.
I just want to argue with you. I apologize.
I know. Well, here's the funny part. There is numerous people who are vaccinated and boosted who tested positive.
But also nobody.
They only have to stay out 3 days and don't have a test to come back.
This is not our wheelhouse. Talking about the vaccine.
This is our wheelhouse. This is conspiracy episode 101. Because I feel like if you're fully vaccinated and boosted, you test positive for COVID, you can come back in 3 days with no test. You can still infect everybody. Being boosted, it doesn't mean you can't pass on the infection. You can pass it on. This whole thing is a work. It's bullshit. It doesn't make any sense. Now, I got to get the test. I got to do this. It's ridiculous. But you know what? I'm going to be working in my underwear all week. That's all I know.
All right.
So,
well,
the hell with them.
Are we still? You just kind of named the episode, Conspiracy Episode 101. Let's. What other conspiracies would you like to talk about today?
Well, I can still go on about this COVID because
I'm sitting on the story I promised to tell like eight podcasts ago before we started doing reruns for the yellow folder story, but we can definitely tell that last.
Not only have I texted everybody in that email group, telling them my conspiracy thoughts, and some agree with me, some tell me I'm crazy, some are like, well, glad I got the booster. I'm like, well, what's the difference? Like, you tested positive. It doesn't even matter. I didn't. Yeah,
but they get to go back earlier. They get to go back earlier, which means the in the long grand scheme of things, the bosses see them back earlier than you and think they're working harder, even though it's a forced mandatory time off.
Yeah, but the project you put me on is for the CEO. Well, this is like a top project.
I'm
sure she asked.
You're failing forward. You're failing forward fast, like Cameron said when he was the Dolphins coach for 2 minutes.
I'm sure she asked for me. She was probably like the famous guy from TikTok. Let's have him do the project. Like we trust him.
Uh-huh.
It's probably what it came down to.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, I made a LinkedIn post and I put over the company and I put over everybody and nice picture. 100 likes.
Oh, you're
All the
sucking
big wigs.
sucking ass, aren't you?
They know. They know. They know. I'm the guy. Which, by the way, that singlet it was squeezed in. I squeezed in that like a sausage.
Bro, believe
That
me.
singlet.
Believe me. I saw the video. I was like, oof. And then and then of course Bobby for some reason took some screen grabs and sent them to us, and
No.
I was like, I don't think I even responded. I think I started a type of response like, are you? I'm not sure why you're sharing these pictures. We all know he's fat. I don't know what
Right.
this accomplishes.
Right. I just ignored it because
It's like the humiliation already happened when he had to appear in it live in front of like 100 people.
Yeah,
Who are
right,
you
right.
humiliating? Sending it to the group chat, a group chat,
Right. Like that doesn't even make sense.
He had to go dance in front of people that sign his checks and that thing. I think he's already been. I think the humiliation has begun and ended there.
Right. Like it didn't even make sense. Right. Like he really didn't need to YouTube. Just like you and who was it? You and Blake.
Yeah, just me and Blake.
That doesn't even do anything. Right.
No.
A waste of a text.
Yeah, well, it made him feel good, I guess.
Yeah. What? Tell your story because I'll be honest with you. I got nothing.
This is the problem. We had this discussion. You're supposed to not should say. I don't ever want to hear on this podcast again. I've got nothing. You're supposed
thought
to
I could
start.
draw out the
You're supposed to
conspiracy theory a
start
lot
being
longer.
prepared. You're supposed to, put more effort in. We had this whole talk, and you're like, "You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. I can't argue any of the things you said. You're right. You're right." And here we are. So what? And not even like 5 episodes later, like the fucking next episode. I mean,
You're like
you
the girlfriend. I gotta just I gotta like.
yeah, you tune me out. You say yeah, and then
Yes.
yeah,
You shut up.
yeah. Well, that's well, that's why our numbers are in the toilet because nobody wants to hear you say I've got nothing. Yeah, I'll tell. Well, I'll tell you my college story then because I did promise a story. Remember the guy that I told you about that was the junior deputy of the month or the week or whatever it was. Remember the guy that ratted on the
Yeah.
guy for stealing from the
school. Yeah.
from the vending machine? So
Right.
he and I lived on the same hall, on the same floor of our freshman dorm. And about halfway through the year, things weren't working out with him and his roommate, and things weren't working out with me and my roommate. My roommate was like just a prick. Was a prick. It did lots of like once he decided that we weren't getting along and whatever. There was some passive aggressive stuff on both sides. He would hang shit on the doorknob when he was banging chicks, and eventually I was like, "Fuck this guy." And I was just like, I would just let myself in, go into the bed, and go to sleep. I did not care what he was doing in there. I was just like, it doesn't bother me. I'll ignore it. Go fuck whoever you want. I'm not telling you to kick her out or whatever. And
Right.
and whatever. I've since then I have fucked in plenty of rooms with another person in it, and another person has fucked in rooms while I've been in it. It's just
Right.
we grow up adults. These things happen. So in college, he on the other hand was like just kind of disrespectful and shit. And would at one point he started trying to do this stuff where he was like, I can't go to sleep without listening to music, and then he would like play this like fucking like circus music with German people shouting and shit like that, and he didn't understand. I grew up in a family of 6. I can
Right.
I can go to sleep at the
Right,
fucking
right,
snap of a finger. And if I got to throw headphones on and listen to my own shit loud, I could sleep in 2 seconds to that. It never bothered me. But I knew what he was trying to do. And so eventually, I think him and not the junior deputy of the month, but his roommate got together and said, "Oh, we're not getting along. Why don't we do a whole swappy thing?" So it ended up working out where I the second half of my freshman year, I was living with the junior deputy of the month, and he had his own fucking things. He was one of those like we're talking 1990, right? So he's like early computer online guy, like no internet, really like chat
Right.
boards and things like that. And but he had a computer with one of those modems that like made screeching, buzzing sounds all the time, and he was on at all hours. So again, it was one of those things where it wasn't music. It wasn't. It was a little harder to tune out at first, but eventually, I like 3/4 of my freshman year, I had to learn how to go to sleep with headphones on, and you know they were like the little ones with the orange foam on them. You know those cheap fucking
Right.
ones.
I know what you're talking about, right?
And
Yeah.
I was buzzing through batteries on my Walkman or CD Walkman or whatever I had.
Right.
And he was cool. He was like we're just like listen, man, whatever. I can get along with someone who wants to get along with me. And he had a bed. It's one room. You got two beds in there, and we had a bathroom at the end of the hall. He had a bed. He had vaulted his bed on cinder blocks so he could store more shit under it. The beds had
Right.
legs and you could slide stuff under, but with it raised, he could fit more shit under there. And he's like, yeah, man. And he had like all these boxes of comic books under the bed. So he was like my type of guy. And he's like, yeah, if you ever want to help yourself and just read stuff or whatever, just go ahead, whatever. And I was like, all right, whatever. And so he had this girlfriend that went to college somewhere else, and he went to go see her for like a weekend, and we were just chilling in my room, like a bunch of guys from the floor, and we're like reading some comic books and stuff, and oh, I forgot to preface this. When we were moving, the roommate,
Yeah.
his old roommate, said, "Hey man, he's all right, but we just don't get along. But watch out for the yellow folder." And I didn't know what it meant. It totally went out of my mind. And that guy, who I should have moved in with, ended up being one of my best friends for the next 4 years of college after this year. So, and I know him to this day. So this is weird how this worked out. But he said he gave a cryptic warning about the yellow folder. I didn't even have to mention that, but I was warned about it. And so we're all just hanging out in my room. We're listening to music. We're drinking. Like a typical movie scene from college where we're just all chilling out, talking,
Right. Hanging out. Right.
eating shit, busting balls, all that stuff, smoking, drinking, chilling, and music on, and we go dig, we're digging, we're reading comics, we're looking at magazines and stuff, and someone goes, "What's this?" And they pull out, and immediately I remembered the other guy, Paul, saying, "Watch out for the yellow folder." And it was this yellow folder, and it was one of those plastic ones that is like really thick and durable, but it also held like it was thick. It wasn't like a fold folder. It was like more of a pouch where it could hold like
Right.
I don't know, maybe 10 to 15 magazines in it.
Okay.
And I'm like, I go, oh, I don't know what that is, but I was warned about it. That's what I said. And they're like, and so someone's like, well, now we got to look at it. And I said, well, he did say help ourselves to anything under his bed. So so we're like, all right. So we crack it open, and it's all porno mags.
Okay.
And I'm like, we hit the fucking mother load, so because we're already just chilling out and hanging. So let's this perfectly finishes the picture. We're like, what would you want to look at more than like pictures of naked
Right.
women while you're drinking, smoking, hanging out, listening to music? So we we open the folder up, and we pull out this stack of fucking porno mags, nudie mags, whatever you want to call them. And like they were just ordered from top to bottom, facing up. They were all in order, covers up, but they were ordered like tamest to most vile. But we didn't realize that till we started going through them, right? So first two are like Playboys, and then you go to Penthouse, and then you go to Hustler, and then from there it's off the skids. It's like those ones that you see.
They're at like a convenience store.
You
and
see
they're
in the
like,
convenience store, but you never have known anyone that's bought any of this shit,
Right,
or they
right,
come in
right.
like a 3-pack, and like the front one is like something sellable. The other two are just like they're just trying to unload because they made these thinking there was a market for them and there wasn't.
Right.
Till we get to like, I don't remember all. I just remember one of them was called Poppin' Mamas. Can you guess what Poppin' Mamas was?
He was a pregnant one.
Yes. So we're like popping for this. We're going through them all, and we're just looking at them, like seeing what's there, because we're all eventually going to grab one, sit down and look at it, and then we'll swap. Like it's the fucking library. And so we're like, well, who's going to get the Playboy and who's going to get the Poppin' Mamas? And so everything in between, like Cherry,
right?
Like I could Hustler, all of them. So we're laughing at this, but it's like it's like there's nothing here. There's no. It's a nothing burger still. It's just a guy,
Right.
Until my friend that was reading the Penthouse, I remember because Penthouse had just, I think that was the phase in Penthouse where Bob Guccione, the publisher, had this weird kink where he started like one pictorial out of 3 in a Penthouse magazine would for some reason have the girl peeing in the pictures. It was like the most bizarre thing ever.
Okay.
I just remember this from the back in that day, early to mid 90s, and 2 Polaroid photos fall out of this Penthouse magazine he's reading, and we're like, and the cat they fall out. He looks at them. He's like, "What the fuck am I looking at?" And we're like, you're like, well, you can't even imagine. Like, what can this be? What can this be?
Right.
Right. They were, quote, selfies. Okay. But they weren't like just shots of himself naked. They were him they were like him trying to shoot a picture of what I can only describe as his asshole, taint, underball region.
What? Who is he sending that to?
I don't know, because we'll get to that. So there's 2 of them, and they're both like these strategic, like weird. And it's not that someone else took them of him, because they're so like crooked and weird and fucking like that. It's just like Captain Morgan, foot on a fucking higher surface to get one leg up, reaching under there and closing your eyes and hoping for the best, because it's not even like a cell phone where you can see what you're shooting. It's
right.
It's Polaroids, and it's like there's 2, so it's like one, at least with a Polaroid camera, like instead of like the film camera where you would have to wait get it developed before you took more. Polaroid, you shoot one, you decide whether that's good enough, by shaking it in a minute and a half, 2 minutes later, Or then you got to go and so it seemed like the first shot he wasn't happy with, so he tried for a second and it wasn't much better, and I think he gave up. So yeah, it was these 2 it was literally like he was just trying to get that under like that region that you only see if you squat over a mirror or something. I think squatting over a mirror and shooting it, the mirror would have been smarter than whatever he was trying to do. So.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
I got questions.
Okay, go ahead. Shoot some questions. And then I'll go, or I could go with the rest of it. Which do you want?
My question is, if he was sent like in those days, you couldn't send it on a phone, so he had to physically send a copy to someone.
Well,
that's what I thought.
It's not clear what the purpose of the photos were, because they were stuffed in a. It's not like they were sent somewhere. Or whatever, they were in a Penthouse magazine and stuffed in a folder under his bed. Like if he had taken them and was going to send them, you'd think he would have sent them. He wasn't letting them marinate for 2 months until hoping that they would somehow get better, or that. Yeah, I don't have an answer for that. So now here's my problem. I've been welcomed to the material under his bed, which we all thought was just like comic books, and maybe even if we were welcome to the naked magazines, because in it later on when I lived somewhere else, where it was the room where everyone came to just hang out all hours, day or night. It was like everyone smoked cigars and drank whiskey there, and I had magazines just because, it's a dude hangout.
Right.
So you look at this the same way. It's like, why would he care if I read the comic books or the porno mags?
Right.
I think he forgot he stuffed those photos in there. And so now I'm in this conundrum because it's like, I don't know if he was like cool with everyone else reading this stuff, but I guess if I'm welcome, anyone that I knew would be welcome to it. But I know he didn't realize that those photos were still in that magazine. And now the fucking cat's out of the bag, and we've been sitting there for 10 minutes just peeing ourselves laughing. And now I'm coming to the conclusion that this fucking guy eventually is coming back. And that these are all people that live on the floor with him. And at least know him where they would nod to him if they passed each other anywhere in school. And I'm realizing that how am I going to get these motherfuckers to take a blood oath to not talk about this outside of this moment?
Right.
And I'm like, I just did my best. I'm like, guys, don't fuck. You're gonna fuck my spot up here. I've already had to move from one roommate through irreconcilable differences. Don't cause me a headache here with another one. Can we keep this to ourselves? Can we take this to the grave, et cetera, et cetera? And everyone was like, oh yeah, sure, no problem. Blah blah blah. So I'm nervous.
I kind of think maybe he wanted you to see them, like as a rib.
I don't.
Like he was joking. Like
it was not not
with
that
a shock value.
Not that kind of guy. Again, this was the kind of guy that was like kind of caught heat with everyone for things like being a narc and getting a nickname like the professor for always raising his hand in class and trying to be a know-it-all or a front row hand raising guy. You know what I mean? So not the kind of guy that I think would pull his nutsack out, call your name, and when you turn around, batwing you and then kick you in the ass twice for being a fag, like in Waiting. It wasn't that type of a guy. And we didn't play those types of games on that. We did on that floor, but not with him. And so
he wasn't that guy.
Right. So so I'm like, oh no. So like a week goes by and like he doesn't say anything. There's nothing, nobody else. Like nothing ever gets back to me, et cetera, et cetera. I think we're good. Then I go to the bathroom one day on our floor. And again, it's like we have this, it's like a hallway. There's all these rooms. And at the end is the bathroom. And so there's like a row of showers and a row of like stalls and a et cetera, and a row of sinks. I'm sitting in a stall doing what you do when you sit in a stall, not even paying attention. But we didn't have cell phones at that time, so eventually you either shit or get off the pot because there's nothing else to do. But I glance up and I'm looking at the wall to my left. And I see on it, someone wrote, why, Chris? Why did you take pictures of your own nutsack? Why do you have?
Oh my God!
Why do you have a fucking? I think it was also why do you have a folder full of pregnant women magazines, et cetera, et cetera. I think the only thing that could have buried him more at the time, and again, look, there's nothing wrong with it, but when you're with a group of guys, you might be judged for certain things. And the only thing that saved him was he didn't also have like she-male mags or tranny mags or whatever you call it these days. But we're telling a story in the 90s, so I'm using 90s vernacular. Fuck it. And but he had everything else.
Right.
And I'm like, oh no. And I'm like, is he's gonna fucking see this? And I should have been smart and like scrubbed it. But I'm like also lazy and I'm not going to clean up someone else's fucking stuff.
Right.
So I'm like, oh no. And it's like, what are the odds he'll never shit in that stall ever again? Probably.
Oh, he's going to see it.
Slim to none. So literally like, I think the next day or later that day, it wasn't soon after that I saw it. But I had mentioned a couple people like, who the fuck wrote that? And everyone's like playing dumb. And I'm like, you guys are really fucking me over here. I go back in there,
Right.
Maybe it was my favorite stall. I don't know. I was back in there, the same one. Maybe I was just curious. And he had written like these long answers to all the questions.
Oh, that's amazing.
Like
That's actually amazing.
Like if I was him, I would have totally no sold. You know, it'd been like,
right.
I've been. What are you doing? Are you shopping?
I of course I am.
You motherfucker! You're supposed to.
Longer. It's starting to pour, and I didn't
You
really.
motherfucker! You're supposed to like. The integrity of this podcast is just fucking out the window with you, right?
No, but
we're going back to drinking. It was the only way to ensure you were home. This is bit.
We should actually.
We're doing.
Podcasts are better.
We're doing shots now. From now on, we're back to the shots.
They were better when we were doing shots.
Yeah, well, I don't know why.
Yeah.
You know, maybe.
Well, we were kind of funnier. Well, we were a little looser, told better stories.
Well, yeah, you at least remembered some. Anyway, so.
Yeah.
You are the worst. I'm so mad at you right now. So anyway,
your story.
Anyway, he wrote these like paragraphs to everything, like I don't remember all of them. I think he did.
Responded,
I think he did blame the one with the undernut thing to like taking pictures for his girlfriend. I don't know who would think their girlfriend will want like if they want to see it in the moment, that's one thing. If they got a good like fucking, in a when you like who's 69s when you're past 25, but like that's the that's the age where you'd be doing that, where she would see that live and in color, that exact angle. But other than that, like she ever would need a picture to remind her of that fucking area of your anatomy is beyond me.
Strange.
But he kind of blamed it on that, and I was like, that's some thin fucking whatever. And I think eventually there was some back and forth, but it all happened in the stall. He never said anything to me about it. He never was like, who was in here, blah, blah, trying to figure out who was fucking busting his balls. He just knew the jig was up. And it was like, oh my God.
But he obviously didn't care, though.
Huh?
I don't think he cared.
I mean, he cared enough to fucking answer it instead of just ignore it.
Yeah, that's pretty funny, though, I think.
I mean, or maybe he just felt like his reputation was blown at that point from the junior.
Doesn't know him
from
responding
the first
though?
Week. Yeah.
Yeah, but him responding was classic to me. Like respect for responding that way that's respect. I'm sorry.
I think that's him just trying to spin it, and if he could put any spin on it to redeem any, because that not only is you got to be aware of that. If someone's writing it in a bathroom stall, I'm sure that means they've told other people, which means like that by the time a week or two goes by, that it's not just the guys that were there in my room that know about it. It's their friends and their girlfriends. Yeah. So
it's like the urban legend now.
So anyone who forgot about him as Junior Deputy of the Month, here's a half a year later refresher. Oh, remember that guy? Oh yeah. Well, listen to this. So yeah, I don't even know what happened to him, because I think after that year, it was like he went his way, I went my way. But but that also reminds me.
I got to tell you, that's not where I thought the story was going.
Of course not. Well, I don't know where you thought it was going, but
it wasn't. Listen, you could have given me 40 guesses. I would have never guessed that answer.
Well, this is roommate life. Like, I've had it most of my adult life. It's very rare I've lived on my own. And so this is roommate life. Sometimes it's about you, and sometimes it's about the other guy. This is about the other guy. I'll tell you.
I would have never guessed it.
I'll tell you this also. Yeah. I have one other porno magazine story, so it fits the transition to this. And I may have, again, I don't remember if I told this with Marco or you, but I doubt I told it on yours. So a couple years later, after I graduated and I was working at the comic book store, there was a guy that I worked for my friend Chris. He hired another guy, and I don't remember what his name was. It may have also been Chris. It doesn't matter, because he used to call himself the Crow. He was goth, and he wore those long black trench coats that became a little out of fashion after Columbine. But he was kind of one of those, black shit on your face, dye your hair black, comb it in front of your eyes,
Right, the whole thing.
wear the big boots and the fucking, and it's Florida.
Yeah,
It's
I know
South.
the guy you're talking about.
I mean, like
right.
Jesus Christ. And he had to call himself the Crow, and I guess it was because of the movie with Brandon Lee.
Right.
You know, who was? I mean, it's kind of a goth movie, so I get it. Anyway,
right.
he was working for us, and he got busted stealing. And what happens when you work for Tropic Comics and you get busted stealing is that they confront you on it, and then they go back with you to your house to reclaim all the stuff. And in the reclamation process, a lot of times they not only grab what's theirs, they grab what they feel is theirs. So they'll grab other shit.
Could have been. Right.
Right. So we come back, we bring that stuff back to the store, and it's like time to go through it. You know, if it's still packaged, we can put the price sticker on it, put it back out for sale, or what, et cetera, so whatever the stuff is. And so in this reclamation, in this seizure of assets, in this like if you repo someone's car, you're repoing the stuff in it too. We ended up he also had a stack of like, I don't know, maybe 5 porno mags.
Right.
So they weren't and when I say porno mags, I mean like Penthouse and stuff like that.
Right.
Nothing, nothing intercoursal. So the funny thing was that then again later, after we're done and we have time to like kind of address that stuff, or we're hanging out after hours when the store's closed, whatever it was, we're like, oh well, let's look at this shit. So we start thumbing through it, and we realize that 3 out of those 4 of them have one of the pictorials. Like, I guess that's the girl he liked out of the magazine.
Right.
One of the pictorials he's done cut and paste jobs on. And what he's done is he must have found magazines with male genitalia.
Right.
Found the perfect size ratio and like they look like they belonged on her. He cut the cock and balls out of these, like, I don't know, men's nudie mags and put them on the girl.
That's incredibly odd.
But it was such an art job. It was not like just like a random cut and paste. He found ones that were like the right proportional size all the time and laid the right way, and like he had put so much work into this to make this look as like real as possible. Baffling. And
that's weird.
Completely weird. Like, so weird. It's like you would think they made magazines with just what you wanted. Why are you creating this? I guess he just really liked that girl and thought she would look better with a dick on her. I don't know.
That's incredibly odd.
So for some weird reason, those two stories always go hand in hand when I tell one or the other, because they both
they have to.
They both reveal kind of like cover just these weird circumstances with, like, seemingly normal, like, just nudie mags,
Very odd. It's very odd. The whole thing is odd.
Very weird.
Yeah, that's odd. That's odd.
Yeah.
Like that's more odd than the guy's pictures of his thing, I think.
Oh,
like, to me.
Oh no, because 100%, because like so much work has to be involved in that.
It's weird.
Like that's hours at a desk, like cutting and with a little like X-Acto knife or something, and getting getting the glue stick or the rubber cement, and realizing that one's not going to work. Let me go find another one.
God, that's weird. Yeah, that's odd.
The funny thing is that we didn't throw them out. We kept them in the store for a while. He put them on. I think we put them on the toilet tank.
Oh,
like
as a rib for people when they came in.
Yeah. And when you put and again, eventually other things end up on top. But every now and then, you would let someone go use the bathroom, and it's usually someone you at least knew. It wasn't like a total stranger.
Right.
a total stranger may have seen it and not say anything. But if it was someone you knew, like a regular customer or whatever, you would hear,
Right.
all of a sudden, like they're in there for a little while, and you just hear a "what the fuck," and then you're laughing. Then the three of us or whoever's working in the store is laughing, and we're just waiting for him to come out so we could see his face and we can laugh and let him in on the rest of the joke. But
good rib.
yeah, it's a good rib because you're sitting there and you're thinking, oh, well, I'm in here. Let me look at this. And then
Right. And you're like, yo, yeah.
Hey-o.
Good one. Good rib.
Hey-o. Yeah, so.
Good rib.
Yeah, that is good.
I got nothing else today. I'll come more prepared.
I mean,
I thought my conspiracy thing was going to go way longer, but now it's raining. I'm trying to get in and out of Publix. I got stuff to buy.
That's why no one listens anymore. You don't care. You don't care.
No.
You don't care. We're going to, two things. We're going to start drinking again. Number one.
I agree with that.
Number two, we're going to switch to video in another month or two. That'll force you.
Which will be way more over.
Which will force you to fucking be at home.
Actually show up.
Yeah.
All right. I got nothing else. I got to finish shopping.
Everyone go on social and give them the business. Give them the business for.
Yeah. All right. That's all I got.
Good. I'm done with you.